dish delivers comfort and familiarity quite like fried chicken. From family dinners to quick on-the-go meals, everyone likes to believe they've got the best fried chicken recipe. But one fact is undeniable. KFC is the true global icon. Every day, millions of pieces of KFC fried chicken are enjoyed across the world. To keep up with this massive demand, thousands of poultry farms across the United States raise millions of chickens, ensuring a steady supply of raw ingredients. Still, what makes this dish legendary isn't just the chicken itself. How can a handful of spices and a recipe that seems so simple create a flavor so unique that no one can duplicate it? In today's video, we'll step inside the production process to uncover the secrets behind the world's crispiest, most delicious fried chicken. Almost everyone knows about KFC's world-famous fried chicken, but few remember that it first came to life in the 1940s, thanks to the unique recipe of Colonel Harlan Sanders. The secret behind the brand's success lies in a special blend of 11 herbs and spices, still guarded today as one of the world's most closely kept trade secrets. With this recipe, every piece of fried chicken delivers its signature flavor, with an irresistibly crispy coating and tender, juicy meat inside. At that time, however, fried chicken was still considered a slow-cooked dish, usually served in small restaurants. Sanders changed everything when he experimented with pressure frying. This method cut the cooking time down to just 10 minutes while preserving the chicken's tenderness on the inside and creating that perfect crunch on the outside. It was the breakthrough that paved the way for the birth of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Today, what began as a simple idea in a small gas station has become a global icon. Now anyone can enjoy that familiar flavor almost anywhere in the world. The journey of a KFC fried chicken begins on the vast poultry farms of the United States. The chicks start their lives in hatcheries, where eggs are placed into special incubators, like a warm little home for them. Inside these incubators, the temperature and humidity are kept stable, just like when a mother hen sits on her eggs. Every hour, the trays even tilt back and forth, mimicking the natural turning of eggs by a hen's feet. This prevents the embryo from sticking to the shell, reduces deformities, and ensures heat spreads evenly so that all embryos develop properly. After 18 carefully monitored days, the eggs are ready. At this point, they undergo a strict check using an infrared scanner, like an X-ray machine, that can detect any defective eggs. These are removed and sent to factories where they're repurposed into feed for livestock and poultry. By the 19th day, the chicks begin to stir. Using their tiny beaks, they peck through the shell. After 6 to 8 hours of struggle, a chick finally emerges into the world. The newborn chicks are then placed onto a special conveyor belt, which helps separate them from the leftover bits of eggshell. These chicks belong to a specially bred hybrid line, selected for their ability to grow meat quickly in a short period of time. Right after hatching, they need to be kept warm. That's why KFC's chick-rearing farms are designed like modern heated rooms, maintaining a steady temperature of about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The floors are lined with wood shavings or straw, which not only help the chicks move around easily, but also keep the barns dry and clean. Continuous ventilation systems ensure fresh air, keeping the flock healthy and comfortable. In the first days of life, a chick's digestive system is still fragile. For this reason, their diet is specially formulated by nutrition experts, packed with protein, vitamins, and minerals. This allows the chicks to grow strong, develop quickly, and grow a soft golden yellow coat of feathers. Once they're sturdy enough, they enter the fattening stage. At this point, the chickens are given a nutrient-rich feed, a kind of natural growth booster. The mix contains corn, soybeans, and protein-rich byproducts, all carefully balanced to accelerate growth. KFC farms are equipped with automated feeding and watering systems, running continuously like a 24/7 open buffet for the flock. This means the chickens can eat and drink whenever they want. The water is always filtered and cooled to ensure optimal health. Thanks to this closed and carefully managed system, the chickens grow quickly and reach a consistent quality standard. Hens usually reach their target weight after about 38 days. while roosters take up to 65 days to reach their ideal size. At this point, each bird weighs around 6 to 7 pounds. Once they've met the standard, special transport trucks arrive at the farm to harvest the chickens. This process is carried out using a machine known as a live harvester. In the dark, the device gently gathers each chicken and places them into plastic crates, which are then taken to a nearby processing plant. This method reduces stress, which in turn helps keep the meat tender. At the plant, the chickens enter the receiving area. Here, only dim or blue lighting is used, simulating darkness to keep them calm. The process is carried out in a humane and respectful way. The crates move into a carbon dioxide chamber, where a slow induction anesthesia method gradually brings the birds into a deep unconscious state, ensuring they feel no pain in the following steps. Once fully unconscious, the chickens are hung upside down on an overhead conveyor line. A sharp blade then severs the main neck artery, and the birds are left for a few minutes to bleed out completely. Afterward, they are immersed in hot water at 172 degrees Fahrenheit, which loosens the skin and prepares them for feather removal. Next, the chickens move through a specialized machine equipped with rotating rollers and soft rubber fingers. These spin rapidly, removing all the feathers without damaging the skin, leaving behind smooth, clean carcasses. After the feathers are completely removed, the chickens move on to the first washing line. Here, a fast-spinning blade quickly severs the legs. Immediately after, an automated system carefully removes the internal organs. Each organ is separated for further processing, while the chicken carcass continues through high-pressure washing tanks. Next, the chickens are transferred to the sorting line. Here, they're divided into the familiar cuts: breast, thigh, wings, and back. Each part is sliced with precision using specialized blades, ensuring uniform size and consistency. On the final cutting line, each chicken is broken down in a systematic order. The wings first, followed by the breast and back. Finally, the blade slices cleanly through the hip joint, separating the legs into individual drumsticks and thighs. This process ensures that every chicken is portioned into perfect cuts, ready for the next stage of preparation. To prepare the fillets used in KFC's Boneless Chicken Sandwich, the breast meat first passes through a skinning machine, followed by a deboning system that also removes cartilage. The result? Each breast is neatly split into 2 skinless, boneless fillets, ready for the next steps. These chicken fillets then go through a special treatment. They're placed into large rotating drums where, as the drum slowly turns, the pieces of meat gently tumble against one another. It may sound unusual, but this motion actually tenderizes the meat, helping it stay juicy and flavorful. After this relaxing spin, the fillets move on to the sorting station. Here, each piece is placed on a conveyor with fixed grooves, making it easier for workers to inspect quality. Any fillets that don't meet the standards are discarded, while only the best cuts continue forward. Next, a fine mist of special solution is sprayed across the surface of the meat. This coating eliminates bacteria, ensuring the chicken is clean and safe for customers. Meanwhile, the other chicken parts, such as the back, thighs, and wings, are cut, sorted, and packed into 7-pound bundles. They're vacuum-sealed, neatly arranged in trays, and stored in cold rooms, awaiting shipment to KFC restaurants around the world. And whether it's drumsticks, wings, or breast fillets, every customer has their favorite cut. What about you? Are you Team Crispy Drumstick, Team Spicy Wing, or loyal to the tender, juicy filet team? When orders come in from restaurants, workers begin preparing the pre-packed trays of chicken. Each tray is neatly stacked, carefully sealed, and loaded onto specialized trucks for delivery. With demand so high, this facility alone can supply over 2 million chickens to KFC restaurants every week. Once the chicken arrives, the breading process begins. The flour mix is made from wheat flour, salt, powdered milk, egg powder, and, of course, the secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices. Everything is blended in large plastic tubs to create the signature coating no other brand can duplicate. From the cooler, employees take out a batch of 8 pieces, wings, breasts, thighs, and drumsticks, and place them into a metal basket. They're dipped in water to help the flour stick evenly across every surface. Then comes the signature technique. The chicken is scooped, pressed, and folded several times to make sure the seasoning clings to every corner. Once fully coated, the pieces rest for a moment, allowing the flavors to penetrate deep into the meat for a rich, all-through taste. Next, the chicken is placed on frying racks and lowered into a pressure fryer. The lid is locked tight, and in about 10 minutes, a batch of hot golden chicken is ready. At 374 degrees Fahrenheit, the high-pressure environment traps steam and flavor inside, something that would normally escape in an open fryer. After frying, each piece is carefully inspected to ensure a perfect golden brown color and crispy texture. Excess oil is drained away to keep the crust light and crunchy without being greasy. Finally, the chicken is placed under heat lamps to stay warm until serving. Thanks to this process, every piece reaches the customer hot, crispy, and just as delicious as if it had come straight out of the fryer. For the boneless chicken sandwich, the preparation process is carried out much like the original recipe. The skinless fillets are first dipped in water, then rolled through the seasoned flour following KFC's strict breading protocol. With fillets, the frying time is shorter, only about 5 minutes. Inside the pressure fryer, the temperature climbs above 446 degrees Fahrenheit. This creates a crispy, golden crust on the outside, while keeping the meat inside tender and juicy. Once cooked, the hot fillet is placed on a freshly toasted bun, topped with creamy mayonnaise and crisp pickles, creating the familiar boneless chicken sandwich. But in today's fast-paced world, waiting 10 minutes for a fresh batch of fried chicken can feel too long. To serve customers instantly, pre-fried chicken pieces are kept warm in a special device called a hot holding unit. This equipment is mainly designed for bone-in chicken. It works by heating water to produce steam, which circulates upward, maintaining a steady temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit while locking in the chicken's moisture. As a result, the meat stays hot and tender, just like it was freshly fried. However, storage time is strictly limited to 90 minutes. Beyond that, any unsold pieces are discarded and immediately replaced with a new batch, ensuring that customers always enjoy chicken at its very best quality. And thanks to a consistent process, customers can trust that every time they enjoy KFC, the taste will always be just as delicious, crispy, and familiar as the very first bite. But if crispy fried chicken isn't what you're craving, the spotlight shifts to another crowd favorite, Domino's Pizza, where molten cheese stretches with every bite and the crust comes out of the oven hot and perfectly crisp. Pizza originated in the city of Naples, Italy, in the late 17th century. Back then, people began flattening dough, adding simple ingredients on top, and baking it in wood-fired ovens. This traditional style, known as Neapolitan pizza, started out as humble street food for the working poor. Centuries later, Domino's Pizza completely transformed how people enjoy pizza at home. The chain was founded in 1960 by Tom Monahan and his brother in a small town in Michigan. From those modest beginnings, Domino's has grown into one of the largest pizza brands in the world, with over 20,000 stores in more than 85 countries and a global workforce of more than 290,000 employees. Domino's biggest breakthrough wasn't just about flavor, it was about delivery. In the 1960s, the idea of having pizza delivered right to your door was still fairly new. Domino's changed the game with its famous promise: delivery in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. To meet that promise, Domino's operates 25 supply chain centers across the US. Here, fresh dough is made daily, and sauce, cheese, and toppings are carefully prepared using trusted suppliers. All ingredients are then shipped to over 7,000 franchise stores nationwide, where each pizza is assembled and freshly baked on-site. ready to serve customers as quickly as possible. Let's head inside the factory to see how Domino's creates its entirely new dough recipe from scratch. The journey begins in the mixing area, where basic ingredients like oil, water, yeast, salt, and sugar are precisely measured and poured into a massive mixing bowl that weighs up to 800 pounds. Next comes a signature secret ingredient, Domino's playfully refers to as the goodie bag. Once it's added to the bowl, a worker uses a giant hand paddle to give the mix a preliminary stir, helping everything blend together. Then flour is added, and the entire mixture is handed off to a powerful industrial mixer, strong enough to knead everything into a smooth, elastic, and perfectly uniform dough. Once mixing is complete, the dough is left to rest for a set period of time. This is when the yeast gets to work, producing two key byproducts, alcohol and carbon dioxide. The alcohol will evaporate during baking, while the CO2 becomes trapped in the dough's structure, causing it to rise and giving it that light, airy texture. After being thoroughly kneaded and rested, the large mass of dough is lifted high and dropped into the hopper of the dough divider. Here, the machine pushes the dough out in portions and slices it into smaller pieces using sharp blades, each cut precisely sized to match the standard dimensions for Domino's pizza crusts. Depending on the need, the machine can be adjusted to portion dough for small, medium, or large pizzas. These smaller dough portions are then sent through a conical spiral chute. As they move through, gentle pressure and rotation cause each piece to roll into a smooth ball, much like hand-rolling dough on a kitchen counter. The result is a series of evenly shaped dough balls with smooth, taut surfaces. This smooth outer layer helps trap the carbon dioxide gas inside during the proofing process. That's what allows the crust to rise evenly during baking and gives it a light, airy texture. Instead of flash freezing the dough like many other companies, Domino's chooses to cold-proof it slowly under refrigerated conditions. This slow fermentation allows the yeast to work gradually, creating a deeper, more complex flavor in the crust. Once the dough balls are rounded, they move through a multi-tiered refrigerated conveyor system, where the temperature is carefully maintained at 39 degrees for about 1 hour. Once chilled, the dough moves onto the next conveyor, where workers quickly grab each piece and place them into custom plastic trays. Each tray is designed to hold exactly 6 dough balls, spaced evenly to prevent sticking as they continue to rise naturally during storage. Finally, the trays are stacked and moved into the cold storage area, where the dough rests under ideal conditions until it's ready to be shipped out to thousands of Domino's locations across the country. With its new sauce recipe, Domino's set out to deliver a richer, bolder flavor than ever before. This sauce features over 40% more herbs, with standout notes of garlic, oregano, and basil. The production process begins with the arrival of massive drums of tomato concentrate, each weighing up to 1,500 pounds. On average, the plant receives about 60 of these drums per week, enough to make between 2 and 2.4 million pizzas. These drums are lifted by a mechanized system and emptied into a high-capacity press, which thoroughly extracts every last drop of tomato concentrate. Water is then added to rehydrate and thin the concentrate, making it easier to pump through the plant's piping system. Within minutes, the sauce mixture is sent through pipes into a giant mixing tank that holds up to 1,300 gallons. Here, the tomato base is blended with precisely measured amounts of salt, vinegar, and sweeteners to create a well-balanced, flavorful foundation. At the same time, another large kettle is prepped. Olive oil is heated, then combined with onions, garlic, chili powder, basil, oregano, black pepper, citric acid, and dried mint. This spice mixture is lightly sautéed to release its aromas before being added to the tomato blend. Once all the ingredients are combined in the main mixing tank, the mixture is stirred and heated for about 5 minutes. The result is a smooth, rich pizza sauce packed with the aroma of herbs and spices. Finally, the finished sauce is sealed in cans to preserve its flavor and freshness. These cans are then shipped via refrigerated trucks to Domino's supply centers. Next up is the mozzarella cheese. Domino's partners with Leprino Foods, a trusted supplier that provides cheese to many major pizza chains around the world. At the factory, large blocks of mozzarella are delivered and go through a rigorous quality inspection process. From its signature flavor to the perfect stretch when melted on a pizza, each block is carefully examined by experts to ensure it meets the highest quality standards. Once approved, The cheese is sent through a cutting and pressing machine to break it down into smaller blocks. These blocks are then fed into a shredding machine that produces thin, soft mozzarella strands, ideal for melting evenly during baking. Finally, the shredded cheese is packed into 5-pound plastic bags, vacuum sealed to preserve freshness and flavor. These bags are then loaded onto refrigerated trucks and delivered to Domino's distribution centers. Now that we've covered the dough, sauce, and cheese, let's talk about the toppings. Starting with everyone's favorite, pepperoni. Pepperoni, the classic must-have pizza topping, is a perfectly balanced blend of pork and beef. It's made primarily from pork shoulder and loin, chosen for their marbled fat that gives it a rich, savory flavor, combined with beef chuck to enhance the meaty taste and firm texture. The typical ratio is about 80% pork to 20% beef. The process begins by feeding the meat mixture into a large industrial grinder. Inside, high-speed rotating blades finely chop and blend the meat into a smooth, uniform mix. Before any seasoning is added, a beneficial bacteria called lactobacillus is introduced to kickstart the fermentation process that happens later. Next, the meat is seasoned with salt, cayenne pepper, concentrated paprika, and fennel seeds, giving pepperoni its signature spicy flavor. The seasoned mixture is then sent into a stuffing machine, which pushes it through a large pipe into a collagen casing made from beef. The sausage is tightly packed and sealed at both ends, forming long ropes of pepperoni. Workers hang these sausage ropes onto racks and move them into a fermentation room, where they are left to cure for 1 to 2 days under tightly controlled conditions, around 90 degrees and 80% humidity. This environment activates the lactobacillus, which consumes dextrose from the seasoning mix, creating the tangy, slightly sour flavor of pepperoni while also preventing harmful bacteria from growing. After fermentation, the pepperoni moves to a drying room, where the temperature is reduced to around 75 degrees Celsius. Here, the sausages are slowly dried over 55 days, losing about 40% of their weight. As moisture escapes through the casing, a natural white mold, Penicillium nalgiovense, forms on the outside. This mold is a natural part of the dry curing process and serves as a protective barrier against unwanted mold growth. Once perfectly aged, the outer casing is removed by machine, and the pepperoni ropes are fed into a high-speed slicer, which cuts them into perfectly even 2mm slices in just seconds. The freshly sliced pepperoni is then transported by conveyor to the packaging station, where it's vacuum sealed to lock in freshness. Finally, the sealed packs are sent to Domino's distribution centers and kept refrigerated until they're ready to top pizzas across the country. By this point, Domino's distribution centers are fully stocked with everything needed to make a complete pizza, from fresh dough and sauce to cheese and toppings. And with over 3 million pizzas sold every day, ingredients don't sit on the shelves for long. As soon as a franchise store places an order, everything is quickly packed and loaded onto refrigerated trucks. These deliveries usually happen overnight to avoid traffic and ensure the ingredients arrive on time without any supply chain hiccups. Once the truck reaches its destination, the ingredients are unloaded straight into the store's cold storage, ready for the next shift. Next comes the pizza ordering process. Since 2008, Domino's has offered an online order tracking system, letting you know exactly where your pizza is, from the moment it's confirmed to when it shows up at your door. It's a convenient, transparent, and fun feature for anyone eagerly waiting for their meal. Once the order is received, the pizza-making team jumps into action. Fresh dough, never frozen, is taken out of the cooler and allowed to rest for a few minutes to come to room temperature and rise evenly. Then it's time to build the pizza. Sauce is evenly spread across the dough, followed by shredded mozzarella cheese and toppings like pepperoni. The spicy salami made from pork and beef, seasoned with paprika for its signature color and flavor. The assembled pizza is then placed in an oven set to 465 degrees and baked for about 7 minutes. Once the crust turns golden and crisp and the cheese is perfectly melted, the pizza is pulled out, sliced evenly, and placed into a cardboard box. Domino's workers can fold up to 50 pizza boxes in under 2 minutes, a truly impressive industrial pace. Finally, the pizza is placed into Domino's signature insulated bag, called the Heat Wave, which keeps it piping hot all the way to your doorstep. Delivery has always been a Domino's specialty, and they keep innovating. From flying drones and self-driving neuro vehicles to custom cars equipped with built-in ovens capable of carrying up to 80 hot pizzas at once. After watching Domino's pizzas come out of the oven, we now move to a completely different factory. Here, another Italian favorite is made on an industrial scale. Golden strands of spaghetti. How do simple wheat grains transform into perfect pasta? Let's find out. The process begins with wheat, and a whole lot of it. Truckloads arrive at the factory, each carrying up to 45 tons of durum wheat. From there, the wheat is unloaded onto a subterranean conveyor system and carried into the cleaning and sorting area. Here, powerful machines remove stones, soil, debris, and even stray seeds. Once cleaned, the wheat moves into a series of towering silos where temperature and humidity are precisely controlled to preserve quality. Together, these silos can store up to 600,000 tons of grain. In this phase, massive steel rollers crush the wheat kernels, separating the soft white endosperm from the bran and germ. The ground material is then sent to a complex screening system, where a series of mesh filters sort out the coarser bits and isolate the fine flour. Inside each screening machine, progressively finer layers sift the material, leaving behind almost pure semolina. There are 8 of these high-capacity sifters in total, each capable of processing 34 tons of wheat per hour. But the job doesn't stop there. The flour must be milled and sifted repeatedly. After each round, the fine particles are removed, and the coarser fragments are sent back through the rollers. This cycle continues until the flour reaches a precise particle size, around 8 mils. At that point, between 8.0 and 8.1 mils, it's considered perfect, fine enough to absorb moisture quickly and blend evenly into dough or batter. This pure golden flour is known as semolina. The recipe for dry pasta sounds almost too simple. Just mix semolina, milled from hard durum wheat, with water to form a dough. But don't let the simplicity fool you. Precision is everything here, because the texture of the final product depends on it. That signature bite, the firmness, and the way it holds flavor after cooking. At this factory, about 20% of the semolina comes from Italy itself, preserving the traditional flavor of Italian pasta. The rest is imported from wheat-growing powerhouses like Canada and North America. Why? Wheat from those regions has a higher protein content, which helps create sturdier noodles with that ideal al dente chew. By blending domestic and imported wheat, the factory strikes a balance: flavor from home, structure from abroad. Different wheat blends yield different results. Some doughs are stretchier, some are silkier. Once the ingredients are selected, it's time to mix. Every batch of semolina is weighed with precision, then fed into giant industrial mixers along with a calculated dose of water. The mixing process happens fast, very fast, to prevent clumping. At this stage, the mixture doesn't look like traditional dough. It's dry, crumbly, and has the texture of damp sand. To bind and compress this loose mixture, the factory relies on a powerful screw system known as an auger. This device kneads the dough under pressure, combining water and semolina into a dense, cohesive mass. Once the dough reaches a crumbly, sand-like texture, it's lifted by a tiered conveyor system and sent through a series of rotating sifters. These spinning drums catch any large, undermixed clumps and reject them, allowing only the fine, evenly blended particles to pass through. This step isn't just about improving consistency, it's critical for protecting the next machine in line, the extrusion press. Any stray chunk of dough could clog or damage the high-precision equipment that shapes the pasta. If this coarse mix were fed directly into the extruder, it would compress unevenly, leaving tiny voids or cracks inside the pasta strands, a flaw that weakens the final product. To prevent that, the sifted dough is first gently compacted into small pellets. This pre-compression step helps the particles stick together just enough to be shaped efficiently, resulting in smoother, stronger spaghetti. Pelletizing the dough also forces out trapped air, and that's essential. Excess air bubbles can make the pasta brittle, causing it to break during packaging or fall apart in boiling water. And nobody wants broken, mushy spaghetti on their plate. Next, the dough pellets are gently warmed to around 91 degrees Fahrenheit, just enough to make them pliable for shaping, without actually cooking the dough. Once warmed, the pellets are funneled into the extruder, the machine responsible for giving pasta its iconic shape. Depending on the style of pasta being made, the factory swaps out different dyes known as bronzo. For spaghetti, the dye is made of bronze. Why bronze? Because it doesn't just shape the pasta with precision. It also gives each strand a rough, textured surface. That texture makes a big difference. It helps sauces cling better to the noodles. As the warm, compacted dough is pressed through the metal die, it passes through holes engineered to exact specifications. These tiny openings determine the final diameter and shape of the pasta. For spaghetti, they're long and narrow, producing thin, uniform, perfectly straight strands. And the pressure? It's intense. The dough is pushed through at more than 100 times normal atmospheric pressure, transforming it into an endless stream of spaghetti. The factory's extrusion system can produce up to 11,000 strands every single minute. That's roughly 270,000 feet of spaghetti every 60 seconds. Once the spaghetti reaches its full standard length, a rotating blade slices the strands cleanly. At the same time, a series of metal combs, functioning much like a hairbrush, neatly separate and align the noodles. The result? Wide curtains of spaghetti over 1 meter across, uniform and visually striking. These pasta curtains are then carefully prepared for the next critical stage, drying. Finally, the strands are gently lowered onto moving rails, where they're trimmed to an exact length of 26 inches. At this point, spaghetti still retains about 30% moisture, the perfect condition for the long, gradual drying phase that will turn it into the firm, dry pasta we all recognize. Next, the spaghetti enters the drying system, a sprawling network of metal frames that functions like a massive automated clothesline. Every hour, around 6 tons of pasta travel through this system, suspended in long, flowing sheets. The image is reminiscent of how spaghetti was once dried outdoors for days under the warm summer breeze of southern Italy. But today, tradition meets technology, and every detail is tightly controlled. Instead of sun and wind, the factory uses industrial-scale drying chambers, massive steel structures that consume enough electricity to power 30,000 homes. Each strand of pasta spends up to 12 hours inside what's essentially an industrial steam room. In the first hour, gentle heat removes roughly 10% of the moisture. Then, the spaghetti passes through 3 additional heating phases, gradually reducing the moisture content down to 12%. The ideal level for long-term storage, without the need for preservatives. It's a delicate balancing act. Too much heat, and the pasta cracks. Too little, and it retains moisture, shortening its shelf life. That's why temperature and drying time are adjusted with pinpoint accuracy, ensuring the strands stay firm and flexible with just the right chew when cooked. The factory houses 120 separate drying chambers, each tailored for different pasta shapes, from tiny elbows to long spaghetti strands. Even the thickness of the noodle matters. Spaghettini, the thinner variety, measures less than 1.7 millimeters in diameter, while traditional spaghetti is closer to 2.0 millimeters. Thicker strands take longer to cook and have a firmer bite, and that affects how they hold sauces and deliver flavor. After 12 hours of drying, the spaghetti isn't quite ready for packaging, not just yet. It's still warm, and before it can be boxed up, it needs to cool down slowly and evenly to room temperature. This careful transition is key to preserving the pasta's structure and texture. The spaghetti is transferred into a cooling chamber, a sealed system equipped with powerful fans and tiered conveyor belts. Inside, a stream of cool, dry air circulates constantly, gently drawing out the residual heat from each strand. Once the cooling phase is complete, the spaghetti reaches the final stretch of the production line, precision cutting. Traditionally, Italian spaghetti measured around 20 inches in length. But today, to better fit modern cookware and consumer preferences, most strands are trimmed down to a more practical 10 inches. The entire process is fully automated. sheets of golden pasta glide smoothly and rhythmically through a high-precision cutting system, where blades slice each strand to exact specifications, down to the millimeter. The motion is almost choreographed, an industrial ballet of synchronized machinery. Every strand is cut clean, uniform, and camera-ready, perfect in both form and function. From here, it's on to the final stage, packaging and shipping, ready to land in markets, cupboards, and ultimately on dinner plates across the globe. Even after the spaghetti is dried and seemingly finished, it's still not off the hook. Samples are subjected to a series of durability tests. The strands are bent, stretched, and stressed to simulate real-world handling. The final step in the spaghetti-making journey is the packaging area, where precision engineering and high-speed automation take over. Here, computer-controlled systems calculate the exact amount of pasta needed for each package, ensuring every portion meets strict weight standards. Spaghetti strands slide down stainless steel chutes, are gathered into mobile hoppers, and then funneled into bags with near-perfect accuracy. This cutting-edge packaging machine can fill 10 bags, each weighing 9 pounds, in just 1 minute. And when running at full speed, it cranks out up to 60 bags per minute. That blistering pace is essential to keep up with growing global demand. Each year, over 1 million tons of pasta are produced, packed, and prepped for shipment to more than 100 countries worldwide. From the distribution center in Italy, roughly 100 tons of pasta leave the facility every single day, with 65% bound for export. That's enough to serve up nearly 30 million plates of spaghetti every day. And that's the full journey of how spaghetti is made, from humble durum wheat to a neatly packed product, ready to hit the plate. Do you find yourself reaching for spaghetti often? What's your favorite way to enjoy it? With classic tomato sauce, a rich, creamy Alfredo, or maybe a creative twist of your own? Share your go-to spaghetti recipe in the comments. We'd love to hear how you make it your own. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming deep dives into the world of food production. Thanks for watching. See you next time.